This is a public service announcement. Please hold on to your bottoms.
Bing, boom, boom. Welcome back to the Broken Unicorn podcast.
I'm Erin.
I'm Jason.
And we're not talking much about models today, but, you know, we're diversifying.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like...
Variety's the spice of life.
As is the spice of life. Cayenne.
I'll debate that.
You're going to debate. I know exactly what you would debate with.
What with?
Smoked paprika.
Mm-hmm. Hot smoked paprika.
Hot smoked paprika, sorry.
It's multifaceted.
Yeah.
So, we're not talking about cooking today. Today we're talking about...
We're talking about reboots and revivals. And I guess remasters if we're going to dive into video games a little bit.
Maybe. Yeah. Could be something worth looking at.
A little bit of housekeeping. We apologise if we end up eating some brownies. But I make very good brownies. And if people want the recipe, I will provide it.
Also, shout out if you like ASMR chew on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. I've generally, some people's videos I've stopped watching.
Yeah. Because
I've started doing ASMR. It's like, I can't deal with it. It makes me wonder, should rip my skin off.
Yes, ASMR does not work for me.
No.
You watch an unboxing video now and half of it is just rustling.
Warning that we have an attempt to try and improve our sound quality. We have put acoustic panels on our walls, though the little sticky Velcro things we put on, some of them have been falling off. We're hoping they'll set in a bit, but just we might get something go, ah! And that's what's happened there.
Yeah.
But back to the matter of hand.
Matter of hand?
Matter at hand. No, the matter of hand.
The matter of hand.
The hand matter.
Hand matter.
The hand matter of hand. The hand of Omega.
I was just about to say hand matter sounds like some sort of MacGuffin from Doctor Who.
Like the mate of Hand of Omega.
Yes.
So, there's inspiration to do this particular episode was from our unfortunate experience with Hocus Pocus 2. And we were going to do this for Halloween, but things passed, and we're not going to just talk about Hocus Pocus 2, but we are going to use that as our anchor.
A jumping off point.
Our anchor of our discussion, which is, I want to state, I find the first one thoroughly enjoyable. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. But no, forget the but. I went into the new one knowing very little other than the fact they had made it. I didn't really know a lot about the plot. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going into this looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And it started off personally very strong.
Oh, yeah, I completely
Something
agree.
about generally most of the film, I will say, is the acting is pretty good, particularly the young cast members.
Yeah.
Are all very good, but it's definitely a directorial and script issue. And plot. The plot, I think the plot writing is, I don't know what they were thinking.
They weren't thinking.
But yeah, the crux of the biggest issue, I think, for this, and it's something that seems to be coming up on lots of films, particularly Disney, which is the defanging or
neutering.
The neutering of villains. A villain isn't allowed to be bad. The baddies have to somehow be humanized so much so that they're no longer even villains.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue with this. It was almost like a parody show of Hocus Pocus, almost.
Not even a well done parody of Hocus Pocus. It was
Sound panel 1 has made a move.
And it's reattached. It wasn't even a well done parody of the original. The defanging of the main characters, the retconning of key plot points from the original.
To change it.
It was, I'm going to say, it was disrespectful to the source material.
I understand what they wanted to do, which is we want to tell a message about sisterhood and stuff, and I feel like that was not the right vehicle to do it.
Oh, they missed the point.
They missed the point of it. Like, I'll say that there's like people who just want the song and dance of it might find it enjoyable enough. Something that I found really annoying is the Sanderson sisters appear literally singing and dancing in a forest, which is not how they appear in the first one.
Hold on.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. You're not going to spoil it out for a Disney Halloween film.
But yeah, there are people that still haven't seen
spoiler it, yeah.
The very start of the film, the flashback, I loved it.
Yeah, their start of the film...
Well cast.
Is the Sanderson sisters before they're witches in Old Salem, and the girls are generally really good, funny,
fantastic,
and wonderfully charismatic, and
also
great chemistry.
Very, very good child representations of the characters from the original film.
Yes, yeah, it's just the interaction, and they're playing with some of the theme. Like that's the thing, you're trying to go like, oh, look at the sisterhood of them.
Yeah.
But then how they become witches and stuff is like kind of.
Well, they retcon how they get the book.
So the first movie says that they got the book that was made from the skin of a hanged man and was given to them by the devil himself. And then they also in the first film are worshippers of the devil. They find a man. They find a man in a house dressed as the devil, and they act like he is their master. This film kind of gets rid of all that, and because it wants to have a feminist message, and I think it's just not done very well. I think
it's very clumsy.
It's clumsy, and I feel like it's like I'm on board with what you want to do. You just haven't done it well, and it's not that Hocus Pocus can't do it. I just think it's not the right thing, because I think a key point to always remember throughout this film about the Sanderson sisters. Yes, they're entertaining. Yes, they're funny. Yes, they sing and dance. They are not just child murderers. They are like, for lack of a better word, they're child cannibal. They
eat the souls. They
eat the souls of children, but arguably they
probably just
they're cannibals.
Children.
Yeah. And I think there's kind of this someone's really trying to kind of
pushes away from that.
Forget it's like, don't think about that. Don't think about that. And yeah, that was something that I personally was like. Mm-hmm. Because it felt like as it got on, it got worse and worse. Like the start of it was like, ooh, this is going to be good with the little girls, and even with the introducing Mother Witch, I was like, that's fine. It changes a wee bit of the story a bit, or maybe it was just a story, and that made kind of that was fine. And then it was gradually there's the girls in it who are falling out, but we haven't even seen them fall out, and it's like it's hard to care.
Yeah, there's the girl that's separated from the group because she has a boyfriend.
Yeah, or something, or hanging out with other friends and stuff, and it's like, I don't care. I don't know. I've not know nothing about the characters.
The other things, like all the male characters are effectively dolts in it.
Oh yeah, they're all useless idiots.
It's very apparent that the feminist message has got a sprinkling of misandry through it.
Yeah, it's like it's a common thing. It's like
it's become more common.
You can do it without making the male characters idiots. Especially like Billy, because Billy talks more in this, and then it's like you haven't really used Billy that well.
Yeah.
And if you don't remember, Billy's the zombie from first film who was one of the Sanderson sisters, played by Bette Midler's boyfriend. Turns out it wasn't really her boyfriend.
Yeah.
It was actually Sarah Jessica Parker's sister's boyfriend. I can't remember all their names. There's Winnie, and I generally don't remember the other two. Winifred's. I can't remember
either. But yeah, he wasn't really well utilized. He was more of a people seeing him and screaming addition to the plot.
Yeah, it was like he was just he's there. And it's like, well, make more use of him.
And it's a shame because Doug Jones is playing him, and Doug Jones is a fantastic actor.
It felt a bit of a waste. Mm-hmm. But in general, like the plot, they're really pushing this idea of like the girls apparently in the main characters, and again, the girls who play the main, like particularly the main two characters, are good. Mm-hmm. They're great actresses.
Yeah, the chemistry is good between them. I mean, the film does just suffer from the writing, but the actresses.
Yeah. I think they put the work in, and I'll give them that. There's they're really like carrying this idea of sisterhood throughout the whole film, and that's the most important thing. And like that'll bring suddenly the Sanderson sisters are apparently the most powerful witches ever exist. That wasn't the first film. Now they're the most powerful witches in the world, and like what?
Yeah,
and it was all just like kind of throwing all this new information that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then the biggest glaring.
What I don't know. It depends what your opinion is.
Or at the very end.
Oh, that they kind of indicate that they go to heaven. You mean that?
Before that, the guy that owns the magic shop.
Oh, that's it. That's okay. So,
but the
Sanderson history. Okay, so the Sanderson house in this is now like
a magic shop.
A tourist resort. People go there at Halloween and learn about Sanderson sisters, and I can't remember the name of the actor who plays him. And again, does a good job playing it. But then we go, it's very glaring what's going on. He's obsessed with them. And then there's this reason he sneakily, inverted commas, gives a black flame candle to one of these two girls who comes to the magic shop. And that's where they learn about doing rituals and stuff. And they go into a forest, which is a weird set for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's very, very setty, like a stage set.
Very, very soundstagey.
I did like see someone kind of point out that it may be something to do with the fact that we're kind of revving up for a stage show, which is very much why they essentially appear literally middle of the song and dance. You're like, that's not the first one. They just appeared, and then you got them. It came out a nice pace.
Yeah,
it's just like slappy in the face, look, that singing, dancing, and it's like, okay, we get it. There's gay icon stuff. It's there's a queerness to them. I'm all for that, but your plot, you still have to have some kind of level of
There's no cohesion in the film.
No, but yeah, they get the black flame candle, and then of course they light it. Oh, they're virgins. Oh, okay. They suddenly appear. The guy's reason behind it. So again, spoiler alert. When the night of the first film, he was trick-or-treating and someone stole his candy, and then he was walking in the street alone and he saw the Sanders sisters fly overhead.
Yep.
That's it. That is his reason for wanting to revive them, is because he saw them on Halloween. Even though he also heard about the horrible things they did, he decided, they're not as bad as everyone said, he wanted to revive them.
He sees them being vanquished as well, from a distance.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason. He spent the next almost 30 years of his life or something
trying to bring them back, or learning and trying to bring
back and buying over the old house and turning it. But that's it. He's got no grounding other than he observed them twice.
Zero motivation.
There's no real understanding. I'm like, that's not a motive, and he's not even really a villain either. And that's not a strong motive for a character to dedicate most of their life to doing that and then going, this was a bad idea. It's like, really, some witches that consume the souls of children.
It's just a dumb man.
They also completely, the first movie they had, we've been revived, we need to have the consume the soul of a child so we can live. Otherwise we die. They just forget about that this time round. And there's this new thing about the ultimate magic or something. Instead, it's like, but if you don't get that in time, then you're screwed anyway. And also, she doesn't know if that's actually going to work. Mm-hmm. She just kind of goes, because they're not allowed to do it. They've been told not to do it when the first time they got them, their magic book was not to do that spell ever. And you're like, okay, so we've just kind of ignored the fact that you don't know if they're going to make it to sunrise. And there's so many opportunities they could have got to just nick a child in that film as well. There's so many. They could have literally just secured that they were going to survive that night.
Pick a child off the street, suck its soul out, and then... Right.
Or it would have been very easy for them in the first movie to do the ultimate spell.
Yeah, true.
As well. So just like, you could have just flipped these around and the setup probably would have...
Yeah. It wasn't a good film. And the worst part of it was I went in with a very open mind. I was hoping that it was going to be at least as fun as the first film, and it wasn't even that fun.
No, it was like really. It felt like it was trying really hard
and failing. And this thing, the actors and actresses in it were good. It was.
Ben Miller's always good.
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't in an awful lot of stuff these days, but great in the first film.
Yeah,
it was a bit watered down in the second film.
I felt like they tried to make her say more, but she didn't. There was a lot of words being said, but no substance.
And there wasn't the same sort of twitchy mania that you had with the character.
And the thing is, they're just back, so there's not like really time's passed for them, so they should be acting principally the same. Otherwise, it's like they've aged. We'll just ignore that.
Yeah.
But actually, that kind of works because the first film, like the star of the very first film, they are older and then they become younger, so they can kind of fluctuate in their age, I guess. And you can get away with that.
But all in all, I mean, it was a real shame because the source material was great, and it fell short on so many levels. I mean, bad writing's a curse these days. You look what happened with Doctor Who. I mean, this. I
feel like it's something that I've heard some people say, and I agree. It's the problem is nowadays you're getting people who wrote fanfic is how they learn to write. I don't know. It feels like maybe that is it. People are writing fanfic, which is why there's kind of disconnects and stuff. They love it so much, but then they don't see.
They want to put their own narrative onto something that pre-exists,
rather than really genuinely understanding it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It feels like there's a nature to an element of that involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shall we branch off a little bit?
Yeah, that was kind of our topic. We've talked about this multiple times. We were going to talk about it on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We're still early days. I would love to hear people's opinions.
Yeah, I mean,
but no one's had anything yet so far.
Yeah, but by all means, I mean, watch it. Maybe drop us an email, drop us a message on Instagram. But it really is one of those films that I honestly haven't heard anyone say they really enjoyed it.
It's going to be like the best you can do. It was okay.
It was okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, as I say, it's a shame. But sticking with the same topic in horror. I mean, horror's always been ripe for reboots, and
Everyone wants to keep a license.
Everyone wants to keep a license. I mean, we're about to start talking about Hellraiser. Hellraiser was always in battle. It was this embattled film franchise that was, it degraded over time. It degraded with sequels. And
the latex and silicon wore away.
It did. As did the writing and the fact that, I think the last one they did before the reimagining was filmed in 8 days in Mexico just to hold on to the rights. And again, it's a shame because the mythos that Clive Barker created was very interesting. And the remake, which we've also just recently...
it's a reimagining. I would say it's a reboot. The world, the way it functions is different.
But
so I would say it's a reboot.
Well, reimagining.
Yeah, but it's a reboot in the sense that they're restarting it, but with different works. You can say reimagining, but it's a reboot.
Okay.
I think there's revival, I want to touch on something. Revival, which is a different thing.
Yes.
Which I'll touch on later. There's rebooting, which is you're just starting it from scratch. And then I argue there's a thing like remake or remastering, which is maybe something that comes on to like, say, video games, because then there's things like there's a remaster of Final Fantasy VII, and then there's a remake, but it's again more like it's a reinterpretation.
Yeah,
because it's not the same game, but it's got the essence and the story and principle. But it's some people are like, I want it turn based. It's like, well, there's plenty of games to play that, but then we're moving forward. It's fucking fun to play. It looks gorgeous, and that's something you can't deny.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about Hellraiser, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, Erin's fairly new to Hellraiser. I'm about to get hit in the head by an acoustic tile.
Just leave it.
Okay. We'll have a countdown.
So I've seen Hellraiser 1, Hellraiser 2, and Hellraiser Bloodline.
4.
Yeah, so Hellraiser 4, and I've seen the new one.
Yeah. And you've only recently kind of gotten into the franchise.
Yeah, so I'm seeing it all, play all of this. I'm getting it all at the same time, and even I'm seeing the issues.
Yeah, the original film is probably one of my favourite horror films. It ticks all the boxes for me, even although it does have that slightly schlocky, slashery thing going on with it.
Yeah, but it's not in the same...
It's not the same level. I mean, again, spoiler alert, the new film does have more of a feel of a kind of early 2000s slasher to it for the most part.
That was my feeling. It's like almost like Scream and stuff like that.
Oh, not quite Scream.
No, but you know what I kind of mean? Like, it's got that kind of... Here's a bunch of teenagers thing, even though it's not about a bunch of teenagers. Well done, you caught it.
Yep.
Sorry, Roy had the ceiling tile literally fall from the ceiling. We need to
readhere.
We need to readhere, but we'll do that afterwards. Hopefully, it's not affected our acoustics too badly.
I don't think it has.
No, I think we've got enough acoustics flying around here to soften it.
So technical issues aside, the new Hellraiser film, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the redesign of the Cenobites. I did think they were a little bit plasticky looking.
I kind of missed that BDSM vibe with the clothing, because they're all basically not really into... the clothing's not really a part of it, and I feel like...
Well, the Hell Priest has kind of a flesh robe.
Yeah. There's a thing is, I've seen, like, I follow an artist who is the concept designer for it, and you can see in his work that... I'm going to look up his name just because I always forget his last name. Peter Morbacher? I think it's Morbacher. He's an American... Well, yeah, he's an American artist, and he did a bunch of this concept design, and you can see the ones that they did really use, but also there's also all the stuff that was not kind of used or not really as big a part of it, and yeah, it's just... Sorry, I'm trying to have a look, see if I can find the other ones, but they're all far back. But anyway, he did the design, and I feel like they could have drawn on it more.
It's interesting because you don't necessarily get this. It doesn't stem from the same sort of mythos.
It's a bit more... The mythos is not as mysterious, and that's something I was kind of missing. That it was the director. I'm so bad with names, so I'm going to try and avoid them where possible. Director did The Night House, which if you have not seen, watch it.
I think he wrote and directed
it, and it was originally intended to be a pitch as a Hellraiser movie, and it's more Hellraiser-y than this new one that he then made,
which is an actual Hellraiser film.
It's less body horror, but I think the mysterious kind of concept of it is better. Like, it has that kind of weird, you don't really know how things work, and you're kind of don't like that idea of what's reality and what's not, and that kind of feeling is very strong.
There's the unease that it leaves you with.
I didn't feel uneasy at all in Hellraiser, other than, I'm not actually great at body horror.
Yeah.
But that was literally it. It was like, ooh.
I mean, I'd say it's a worthy entrance into the franchise. I wouldn't recommend it to people.
If you're wanting to get into Hellraiser.
I mean, it's a decent entry point.
Yeah, but you can go, I really enjoyed the second film.
Second one's great.
Other than I felt the Doctor was a bit kind of the design was a bit crap.
He was also a little bit campy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Clive Barker.
Not with the second film.
He's not involved. So was he not involved at all, except for the first one and the most recent one?
Think so, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He might have been a producer for the second one.
Yeah.
You might want to look that up. The first two films are great. The second film is interesting as well because it shows you there's a bit more going on than just the one puzzle box. Because Dr. Chernard's house, you see 3 glass cloches.
Yeah.
And each glass cloche has a little stand inside with a different puzzle box in it.
Mm.
So it gives you that little nod to there's more going on than just the lament configuration.
And you don't really get that as much in the new one because it's like the puzzle box. You know exactly how it's.
Well,
you solve it.
Hold.
Well, okay.
You get it through the lens of one of the characters, and the character has been studying this and has worked out over time that the different configurations have different names, and he also has had communion with the Cenobites and the Hell Priest. So there's
Leviathan.
No, Leviathan comes round at the end.
No, Leviathan's the one that put the thing in his chest.
No, it isn't. It is a gift from the Cenobites.
I thought it was Leviathan.
No.
Okay, but
no.
That's what it is, it's a bit of random machinery that screws with his nerves enough that he never gets numb to it.
Yeah.
Because he wants,
he chooses sensation.
Yeah, I can't remember what configuration that is meant to be.
But yeah,
they everyone represents different things.
And I like the fact that, I mean, the redesign of the puzzle box is gorgeous. And each time it changes, it gets more interesting. And basically, when you finish all the configurations, you're granted counsel with the Cenobites and are allowed to choose a gift from one of the configurations.
None of them are good.
None of them are good. No.
No one seems to. I feel like everyone who seems to get involved in puzzle boxes is completely naive. Like, obviously, we know as a third person, but the fact is, it's like, you're wanting to get a gift from someone who tortures you. It's like, that's,
yeah.
It just seems like you get accepted, and they're often it's like drug addicts or people who are just kind of screwed in the head.
Well, I mean,
the main character, I actually felt kind of like the start of it, I was like annoyed at her, and then I actually kind of grew to quite like her as it went on.
I enjoyed the journey of the character, but even by the end of the film, I didn't like her, but her drive seemed more honourable towards the end of it.
She definitely felt like a normal person because she actively chooses not to have that pissed me off. She actually refuses any gift, but then they kind of force a gift on her.
Yeah,
which is like no.
It should be a choice.
No. She didn't. She did actually work in the box, and I can't remember if she opened it, but she's fought against him, and they force her to take the lament configuration. I can't remember, which is she'll always be sad or something. I can't remember what it is. Again, but she says I refuse, and then they like roundaboutly kind of say, well, this is how you feel, so that's what you choose. It's like whoa. This is like a mafia promise. It's like you force yourself into helping me. Now I owe you something. It's like, what's going on here?
It's the original films there had done in the original 2 films. The first 2 was always the intent behind opening the box had a lot to do with it.
Has nothing
Whereas
to do with it
in
now.
this, you can make someone work out a configuration and then offer them up as a sacrifice for each configuration.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's very like systematic. You solve one, it cuts you, but you have to be cut. If you're not accidentally cut, then it doesn't work. Yeah. So in theory, you could solve it with the never being cut and have no sacrifices, because if you
it still demands a sacrifice.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the style sticks out until so you could basically, if you know where it's going to pop out, you could just go and stab people and just so you could solve every configuration.
Yeah. But
yeah, it does that. They appear, they take someone, and then it continues on. It's very systematic, which I was like, oh, this is a bit too.
It felt. There goes another tile.
Yeah. A grand plan might backfired a little bit.
Yeah, like it did seem more like they were all part of the machine of Leviathan.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like the Hell Priests or the Cenobites were free agents like they were in the original story.
They're like drones a little bit.
Almost, yeah.
They don't have as much... They never had a lot of personality, but I feel like they have less personality.
Yeah, they're a little bit bland.
What's her name does a great job as Pinhead, though.
Oh, yeah, she's fantastic. Just the malevolence. She's a great actress. Yeah. Really great actress. And I'm honestly, like, I'd like to see them spin out into a sequel.
I don't know if it'll make enough money.
It might not, but it would be cool to see that, because if you look into the extended mythos of, like the original story arc, Kirsty Cotton, the main character from the original film, does eventually replace Pinhead as the Hell Priest.
Yeah.
And her look is all white.
Yeah, it's almost like
white robes.
Because her intent is kind of not to... is almost like she's going to kind of challenge what the Cenobites do a little bit.
Not quite.
I think, or somewhat in some way, but then she kind of does...
The initial intent is that, but then it changes.
Yeah, she kind of loses her
initial goal was, yeah.
But yeah, she wears white robes rather than...
And I think the remake really does kind of lean towards that. They're very clean looking.
Yeah.
There's not that grubbiness of the original ones, which I really like. There's that, it's like a BDSM nightmare.
Clive Barker had a really, really rough night in New York, and that's what happens.
But yeah, it's because in the book it's very, very not BDSM. Yeah, it's something that came in with the films.
The visual implementation obviously makes a big difference. That
it does. It really, and the design just is. They're supposed to get under your skin.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way as much in this one. I feel like it's almost like everything's too clean and a bit too clear. Things aren't hiding in the shadows as much.
Yeah, they look too clean. They don't. I mean, okay, the Hell Priest has slightly grubby hands, but the Cenobites in the original all, like, if the skin of their hands is visible, it looks like they've been digging around in a corpse.
Yeah.
There's that black clotted blood around the fingernails look to them, which just makes them even more malevolent. And, you know, all the hooks and blades hanging off Pinhead's skirted outfit.
Which they don't have in Bloodline.
No, they don't. It's more summoning hooks from the beyond.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a worthy addition. It's not as good as the originals. I'd like to see them do something different with it, though. I wasn't as deeply disappointed by it as I could have been.
I feel like a series would do well.
There's a series coming out.
Is there?
Yeah.
Cool.
I can't remember who's producing it, but there's...
These days it's always Hulu.
Well, Hulu produced...
So it'll probably
be Hulu/Disney.
Yeah. Well, that's just the UK distributor, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think as many people use things like Hulu over here.
I think Hulu was originally offered as an additional subscription at Disney Plus when it first came out, but now it's just slowly being integrated. Okay. I think that, Disney's just become like an overarching company.
Like now. Amazon does with its own things,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, as far as modern films go, it's rare that we get a film that I'm excited about, and that was one that I was...
You talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
You were sitting in, there was just like, for no good reason, a picture of a lament configuration just on your computer, because you just kept looking at it.
Yeah, it's a design of...
A fucking Zenobite was half expected to come out of your computer. Our computers sit right beside each other.
It's a design I've loved since I was a teenager. One of my friends introduced me to Clive Barker's stuff when I was in high school.
You really want me to do my own version of an event?
I think you'd make a really cool version of a lament configuration, even if you did it in your weird, personal, Mobius-esque style. I wouldn't say weird. Cool.
It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird.
But I'd love to see another reinterpretation of it, because its mythos is great in that it was a design given to humans by a demon.
Yeah.
As a gateway to open a portal between Earth and Hell.
Which always makes you wonder why, when you actually go into the labyrinth, it doesn't look like the same aesthetic. It's all very stony. It's very Escher. And the thing is, the design, you think of like it would match a little bit, so it would have like the same kind of at least markings, but it's very just, here's some stone walkways.
Yeah, but at the same time, Leviathan looks like a giant puzzle box.
Well, that's in Leviathan configuration is just Leviathan.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it.
Well, you mean the Lament configuration?
No, Leviathan configuration.
Oh, from the remake.
Yeah.
Yes,
sorry. That version, which you do see in the second one.
Yes.
But they don't give you a different name for it, but
No.
it's the Leviathan configuration.
That's just before they get rid of Julia again.
Oh, yes, Julia. Oh, the skin thing.
The skinned Julia.
That's disgusting.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the better kind of reimaginings.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's got its issues, but it's still fun. I would say it just doesn't have the same atmosphere. Considering if I like if you managed to find the Night House mixed with that, it would have been perfect.
Oh yeah, the Night House is something that I've recommended to anyone.
It's so good.
If you like suspense, if you like a thriller,
it
stays with you.
It will stay, which is what horror should do. Even if it's not like outwardly frightening, but if it stays with you, it kind of lingers in the back of your mind. Someone else said to me, it was Adele said to me, not the singer.
Hello from the other side.
She said, like, what she says with horror is like, that's the key, is it stays with you. It's like, there's like, here's a door and it's just a closed door. You want to open the door, but you don't know what's behind the door. And then that you're looking at the door and then you leave and then your mind's still thinking about that door.
Yeah.
And that just lives in your mind. What's behind the door? I don't know. I'm scared. Should I open it or shouldn't I open it? That's horror. Horror is something that lingers and like kind of, it
plays on your mind.
It haunts you, even if it is not like, it haunts your psyche. I think that's one element of what horror should be.
Another remake we've just recently rewatched was It Chapter 1 and 2.
Yes, we're knocking back a few years there, but I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was still enjoyable enough, but it's not. It's I think the problem is
it leaned into being comedic too much.
Yes, as much as I did genuinely laugh at it, I feel like the first one didn't make me laugh in the same way.
No,
the kids were funny because they were kids, but when they're adults, it's like this is like, yeah, it's great. You've got comedians playing parts and they're good at it.
Bill Hader was good in it, and very touching towards the end.
Oh yeah,
Bill Hader's.
Spoiler alert!
It's an old book.
Yeah, spoiler. But the movie version, he loves his best friend, his childhood best friend.
Yeah,
and that's his like kind of weird, shameful secret, which it's 2019 childhood.
Yeah, it's his shameful secret is he loves his best friend, or is in love with his best friend.
Yeah,
and it's played in a very sweet way. It's not heavy-handed.
No, it wasn't heavy-handed at all. It was nice, kind of like you're left kind of with the kind of idea of it, and then even then you're going like, yeah, you get that. Yeah, it kind of gradually rounds off nicely. You go, so that is what that. You think that's what it is, but you're not sure. And then at the very end of it, like you have the wee bit of it, and you go, yes, there you go. That's the conclusion to what his secret is, but you don't clearly find out ever really, but you kind of give the pieces to put it together yourself.
But it's a shame because the original made for TV movie scared the bejesus.
You mean the miniseries?
Yeah. But it was done as like a made for TV movie, but it was a miniseries as well. The portrayal of Pennywise from that scared the bejesus out of me as a kid, and it also did the same with my little sister
because you weren't meant to be watching the movie.
No. But Tim Curry was amazing as Pennywise, the dancing clown. I thought that the incoming tile. I thought that the redesigned Pennywise was okay.
I like it personally. I think because he's never meant to look nice.
There's also
he's meant to be scary even on the onset, and he's dirty and stuff and looks creepy.
Yeah.
So he's never meant to be like, oh, he looks like a nice clown that then turns out to be scary. So I feel like
there's always that malevolence.
What I've seen with Tim Curry's one is he doesn't outwardly looks kind of not. Like just as he is, he's like a bright, colourful clown.
Oh no, there's
rather than new one's like dirty with weird hair.
We need to rewatch it and maybe step back into this conversation in our next episode because Pennywise from that is just but yeah, the second film really wasn't as strong as the first one.
No,
the kids that were cast in the first one really good. One thing I really liked about the second one was Stephen King's cameo.
Yeah, that was funny.
The old curmudgeon.
He's just an arse.
He's an arse. And he played, you could tell he thoroughly enjoyed playing that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a remake, second half was a bit weak. But pretty decent.
Yeah. We watched them more or less back to back. So it kind of, it as a whole kind of, Yeah. And they're very different because you've got adult characters and stuff, and they're not as endearing.
The thing that really surprised us both was when we were watching the second one, we actually checked to see who the director was, because it felt like it had a different director.
Same director. Right?
Same director, just had a very different feel to it.
He's working. There's a lot of cutbacks, so you actually get to see the kids throughout the film, which is kind of nice.
And you get a little bit of filler of what happened with the kids after the first film as well.
Like, no, it's all stuff that happened that summer,
which is after.
No. They deal with Pennywise at the end of summer, and there's a big period where we weren't hanging out together. And there's like a period, and the summer cuts over like 6 weeks.
Yes, which was after Pennywise.
No.
Yeah.
No, they have to come back together. Yeah, remember they fight after they originally fight him, and then they have to get back together to fight him last time in the sewers. That's where there's the thing is like you see what they were doing between their first encounter and the last, because they fall out after their first encounter.
Okay.
Collective encounter.
Yes.
Yeah. When Thingy breaks his arm.
Yes, and it was the thing, Christ. The other thing is the memory. Oh.
I'm okay.
We've now lost 1, 2, 4 acoustic tiles.
4?
Yep. One there, and that one on the corner.
Oh, is that gone as well?
Yep.
I'm hoping that we'll find a way to get these to stay on.
I think more sticky tabs.
Or a little bit of hot glue. Or super glue.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Might try a wee bit of super glue just on it.
We're professionals, honest.
I spent 26 quid on these. They do their job as if you can get them to stay on the walls.
Yeah. So apologies if the sound quality's changed slightly now.
There's still a fair few of them up, but it might have made a little bit of effect because the ceiling no longer has any sound dampening.
Yeah.
Anyway. This. I was holding it above my head.
We should get a cardboard box and mount them on the inside of the cardboard box and then sit with our heads in the microphone inside the cardboard box.
Just us. That's like so ASMR, just us like in a cardboard box like, hi there. Hi. Yeah. We're in a box. We're gonna scratch the box. Yeah. Let's talk about nerdy stuff in the box. And then it starts going. I'm very sorry for that. I'm very sorry for that ASMR bullshit.
Oh no. But yeah, we're getting there.
Just trying to make it like nice and clean the best we can.
Yeah.
When we were testing it earlier, it turned out I was actually recording the headset on my headset microphone back since it hadn't been plugged in properly. So I was like, "Why does this sound terrible?" And I was like, "Oh, that's why."
Guess who suggested checking the plugs 20 minutes before she did?
You're like that bloody seagull.
Yeah.
I'm a seagull. Do you want to tell that story?
Whether we were walking round to the shop
and you made fun of
I did my best Jay from the In-Betweeners impression.
But you didn't even know it. That wasn't even the intention.
It wasn't intentional, but
it was like we're walking along, and then you in the back behind us we heard and your response was I'm a seagull. And for some reason I found it so fucking funny.
It was funny at the time.
Spent the rest of the day going, it's you.
And then we figured out that I'd probably picked it up from watching the In-Betweeners.
Yeah. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm yelling at first.
If you haven't watched the In-Betweeners, I highly recommend it. It's puerile teenage boy humour.
But it's so of it. Like it's the teenage period of which they're in school is when I was in school.
Oh, perfect.
So
but the thing
it's still timeless.
All the characters remind me of kids that I was at school with.
I'm talking about revivals,
yes, sorry,
which is a whole other thing. It's like we're not rebooting it; we're bringing it back.
We digressed.
But so this is something that's come up a lot recently, and there's another thought because I was talking to my friend yesterday, my friend Erica, but revivals is just like it seems to be a very prominent thing. They're trying to bring back, particularly things that started in the 90s or early 2000s, bring back shows and continue them on, and usually have to retcon a bit at the end. So they've done it. They did it with Roseanne. I'd not watched this one because Roseanne lost her mind, and I was like, I can't be arsed getting involved with this. But I quite like old Roseanne, and then they had to remove her, and they killed her off, and it's called The Conners. I don't even know if it's still going.
I lost interest in remakes.
No, revivals, not remakes.
Sorry.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
I lost interest in revivals a while ago.
But then I watched Will and Grace revival. I was like, okay, because I like Will and Grace. I was like, I'm going to give it a go. And it's one of the most depressing things I've seen in my life.
Yeah, because they're not in their 50s?
I think it was Lisa Kudrow when asked about doing a revival of Friends, and she made a good point. I think it was her, and it was all funny when people were going through this stuff when they were in their 20s and 30s. If you're in your 50s and you're still going through the same stuff because that's what you want to watch, that's really depressing. And I think Will and Grace really showed that.
It shows zero growth.
Well, it's like Will and Grace is like, okay, now Jack is no longer the young one, and there's a really sad tragicness where he wants to still be the young one, and it's just like, oh, and yeah, that's Sean. I can't remember his last name, but he's a good actor as well, and he's actually so sweet. And you're just like, but this is really tragic. And they changed the end of it, so no longer were either of them, Will and Grace, are not married. They don't have kids, and then they're just like, they're now in their 50s and they're still kind of living the same apartment, doing the exact same thing, both single. And then there's like in the first series, Will's with this police officer guy who was actually they suited each other really well, and it was really sweet. And they were meant to get married, and then they adopt a child. It's all very cute. And then the spoiler alert from an older show, they always say they felt they were destined for each other, and then it turns out both their kids go to college together across the hall, and then their kids, so her kids and his adopted kid, then they get married, and that's so there's just it's like the same as the very start of the first episode where they're talking on the phone while watching TV, and they're talking tomorrow their kids get married, and I was like, that was a really nice way of rounding everything off, because they kind of drifted apart and then came back together, and they, we were always meant to be together, and it kind of came together in a different way. They've kind of almost tried to do this in a really tragic way. So yeah, they don't bring back the same guy that he was dating, who he was meant to get married to, which is a shame because they were good. And he gets together with, suddenly really randomly gets together with this stereotype Latin gay, and it's just like he's got very little character, and it's just like this doesn't really match their personalities, and it felt really forced and rushed. She gets pregnant by, I can't even remember who. And then also their parents both are single because one of each of their parents has died, and then they get married. So then they're step siblings, and then we're going to raise the baby together, and it's like, this is all so depressing and tragic. It's like, look at me, I'm in my 50s having a baby, and it's like, that's not okay. I wouldn't, have a baby in your 50s if you want, but bear in mind that you go to yourself like, I'm happy that at least I grew up with younger parents, because it means that I'm probably going to reach I'm going to be a pensioner. My mum's probably still going to be alive, and right alone, some people are going, I might go to college and then my mum dies of old age. And it's like, that's that's the thing. I'm probably going to get a good 60 odd years of relationship with my mum. Touch wood. Whereas you think that, again, I'm digressing on that, but that's why I think this adds to a level of the tragedy of the characterization. So I think that that's really a case that's a good example for me of revivals. There's a trying to bring them back. Like, you can reboot it in a way or restart it, but then you're changing your characters. Like, they did that with Fuller House, I think.
I didn't watch.
I've never watched Fuller House, but I know that the new version of it, Fuller House, it's about one of the daughters, and who she ends up basically in the same kind of situation as her father was in. So that's a different thing. You're still carrying on, but the themes make this continue on, but you modernize it and make it contemporary, while still having the same sentiment. Rather than imagine bringing back him as an old man and having the same situations he was in years ago, and it's like, oh, okay. I think that's the case of a lot of things when they're trying to do these revivals. It just
doesn't quite.
It's just it's there's a sadness to it, and they're trying to capitalize on 90s sitcoms. That was the era of sitcoms. A lot of good ones.
I'm reserving judgment for the proposed Frasier reboot.
We both love Frasier. I just don't know what they're going to do.
It's pure comfort watching, but I think we're now at a point where Kelsey Grammer could be the retired Frasier Crane moving in with his kid. And I think that could be very fun, because we watched a film with Kelsey Grammer in it playing an estranged father with Kirsten Bell.
That was really good. The one on the
cruise ship.
Cruise ship. That was great. I can't remember what it was called, but it was great. Do you want me to look up?
Yes, look up.
And Jason, I'm saying this out loud. Jason, you need to stop leaning back so far because I can see your volume dropping.
Okay. I'm coming closer.
Just try and maintain about the same distance.
Okay.
You know, a foot and a half.
I'm closer now.
Stop ASMRing.
So yeah, the film that we were talking about was something we stumbled across on, I think it was Netflix.
Maybe. I'm just gonna have a look. Like Father, I think it was called. Yeah, it was Like Father.
Like Father.
So yeah, it's 2018. Generally very enjoyable, beautifully shot, beautiful cinematography, color work as well. I just like some nice color grading.
Yeah,
it's generally really feel like it is on a ship and filmed on a ship, but you really feel like you're on a ship, which is nice.
And it's a very nice story about a father and daughter reconnecting later in life, and you know they've both got their issues, and watching them kind of getting to know each other again, and it's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
It's silly, it has sad moments, it has very poignant moments in it, but all in all, it's one of those films that we're just very glad that we hit the play button that night, because we still talk about it now.
Yeah, it does come up. It'd be actually a really nice double bill with the one with is it Seth Green?
Seth Rogen.
Seth.
Which one?
The one where he goes to, was it Thailand?
Thailand, Changeland.
Why do you not think they would be like visually? There's a similarity. They'd be a really nice pairing if you were doing a double bill. I think they would blend really nicely together. I just don't know why. I just feel like
I'll do you a triple bill.
A triple bill.
A triple bill.
Ooh, you're getting excited. That's like 6 to 7 hours.
Changeland. The Guilt Trip. Seth Rogen and Barbara Streisand.
No, it's a very different tone. I think it.
But the light one in the middle. It's less poignant.
Okay.
And then the one with Kelsey Grammer and Kirsten Bell to finish it off.
I will say Seth Rogen and
Barbara Streisand
is father, mother and son. Oh, just mwah.
It's just joy to watch on screen.
Joyous, wonderful. She's so. How much did you want her to be your mum? What was that one we watched about? We were really expecting to be terrible. It was like the mum and daughter go to like a Caribbean island and then end up getting kidnapped and stuff.
It's
that with Amy
Schumer and Goldie Hawn.
That was really. I was thinking it was going to be rubbish. That was great fun.
I'm not an Amy Schumer fan, but that film was hilarious.
That was
really funny. You knew you were going to be in for a fun, silly film.
Goldie Hawn.
God, Goldie Hawn's great.
I was just thinking my mum looked like Goldie Hawn when I was a kid. I don't think she even did. I just in my head I thought she's blonde. She kind of has a kind of similar kind of rosy face. Yes, my mum looks like they don't look like Goldie Hawn. They just both have blonde hair.
But yeah, that's another film that again randomly picked up and watched, and was surprised by how entertaining it was.
We've segued away from our remaster thing.
We'll come back to remasters at some point.
I don't like. If it was coming up, I like. Let's keep the organic flow.
Yeah. I mean, we can always talk about Ghostbusters.
See, I've never watched the all people. I heard too many bad things. It's like I don't think it's worth my time.
But you have seen Afterlife,
which I enjoyed.
There you go.
I know they were really leaning into the kind of Stranger Things thing and that whole kind of that energy of the 90s and the 80s kind of kids. But I really like that, and I actually really.
Didn't teabag you with member berries.
No, it did not. No, it was. They were there, but it wasn't. It wasn't violent.
Yeah. It wasn't a violent teabagging with member berries.
But no, I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to them continuing along with that timeline. And also had Paul Rudd, and I love Paul Rudd. I also love Jason, but I also love Paul Rudd.
But that was respectful to the source material. It continued the original story along in a lovely way. I unfortunately did have that morbid curiosity and watched the all-female reboot of Ghostbusters, and oh dear lord, it was not good.
It's not from what I understand, it's not doing fair. It's like the message is like trying to do. It's like we'll recast male parts as females if this is kind of a good message for feminism. It's like I don't think it is. It's like no, write new parts for new characters that then really are playing to the strengths of female, potentially with like female parts. Like they're not doing any different, but it's a different life experience or something. I just feel like they're not doing it the right way to try and push that. So let's say push to make the statement or message they want. But it shouldn't even be a message. Just do it. Write new content.
Okay, if they were going to do something different, they could have done something round about the Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon.
Yeah.
See,
I think it would have been more of a
focus
focus of one of them being like one of the daughters of one of the characters.
Yeah.
Kind of was more reminiscent of what Afterlife is like.
You couldn't have done a verbatim version of it because Egon Spengler was the kind of mentor to the new team, and Harold Ramis passed away.
Yeah.
So
but you could have changed up around. You could have. I think the idea of suddenly doing a recast, well, not a recast, but changing it's like let's gender flip everything. It's like, why didn't you just do like a bit of a mixed bag? And they never do. They never go, well, why don't you have a couple of guys, a couple of girls?
Yeah, I mean that was Extreme Ghostbusters. It was a mixed team.
And that was actually very progressive at the time. Like you had a main character in that who was in a wheelchair and still took active part in the team. He was the things that really most people can do. So it's like they did it quite a while ago now.
And they didn't make a big thing of it either. It was just he's part of the team. Yeah. We run, he rolls.
Yeah.
They don't make a thing about it. Personally, I felt like the all-female reboot of Ghostbusters was like a really badly done SNL sketch.
Was a lot of SNL. Were they not almost entirely?
Almost entirely all SNL.
SNL.
SNL?
Listen, SNL.
And to be perfectly frank, they should never have been cast in the roles. They're not good enough actresses to carry the parts that they were supposed to be doing. They were very gimmicky.
Someone described it to me because again I've not seen it. I just didn't hear enough good things from it worth my time. That it was like there's never any dead air. It's like joke.
Yeah,
it's like when they do this, they try to make kind of like it's like let's make The Hangover but with girls, and it's like well they're all still talking about cum all the time and wank jokes.
Yeah,
and it's like but women don't hang around and talk about a bunch of wank jokes.
No,
it's like
it suffered
it felt
so badly from that. It was just scalping you around the head with bad jokes, really.
I think
the special effects didn't look good. The characters weren't likable.
There's an inherent issue with the whole idea of trying to remake things and gender flip it is it kind of stops relying on the strengths of individuals, and it's like for women to be good at something they have to do things that men do. It's like no, that's not an approach of feminism. It's like they should be good at what they are good at, not this idea of just they're good at whatever they're good at. Let them show their strengths as individuals rather than kind of doing this weird polarizing thing.
Another thing that film suffered from was misandrous writing as well.
Yeah, I know you have.
Well, this is the thing.
Apologies, Cat.
Misogyny, people have campaigned against misogyny for a long time now. Misogyny is still there. Apologies. It's not my fault. But it's become very commonplace in modern writing that men are cast as idiots, and they did the thing with a lot of the characters in that film. All the men are like idiots, and then they get the pretty but dumb receptionist.
Do you want to deal with the cat?
Yes.
Sorry, we're just going to try and deal with this cat, who suddenly decided just let him in. Who is it? Who is it?
The old boy.
Then let him in.
Yeah.
So we're gonna let our old cat into the room because he was desperate to get into this studio. Okay. So we've let in our 12-year-old Norwegian forest cat Merlin.
He's our first guest on the podcast.
He's our first guest.
So, where was I?
Misandry.
Oh, misandry.
I feel like you're being attacked as a man.
No, I don't feel like I'm being attacked as a man. I think it's just a very clumsy, an oddly accepted thing to find in writing now.
It's a little bit like, well, I'm taking a dangerous stance here. It's a little bit like saying it's okay to be racist to white people.
It's very much in the same vein as that.
Admittedly, I feel like racism for white people doesn't hurt as badly as it does for other people. That's from a white person's perspective. I don't think when people say something, I don't feel very particularly hurt, but I feel like it's
Again, I can't remember my place because you talked over me.
The tables have turned.
So, back to the point I was going to make, which was, it's become a very accepted trope with a lot of modern writing. When you look at the all-female recast of Ghostbusters, the receptionist they have, played by Thor himself, he gets the job because he's pretty. but he's dumb as a bag of rocks.
That's not why the first movie that she got a job. She got a job because she was good.
Exactly.
She was fucking awesome.
Janine in the original film was a fucking badass.
I loved her. I love her attitude. Right? Her attitude was amazing.
Exactly. She was part of the team. She kicked ass. And in the cartoons that followed on from the films, she donned a proton pack. She went out there and kicked ass with the boys. Now, they shit on that by doing what they did with the original. They shit on what they did with the original with the remake, because Janine starts off as, she's going to be doing admin for them, answering phones, and she's as badass as the rest of them. Where's that with this one? You can't, because he's a dumb boy. Men are stupid was part of that, right? It's like feminism, fantastic.
But feminism is meant to be about equality.
Exactly. This is where we get into third wave feminism. Third wave feminism is where we get TERFs. And we don't like TERFs.
We're going into a very serious area for her leisure, her hobby, leisure, entertainment podcast.
I know. But it's because
I recently actually finished a model and painted it. I will segue briefly because we usually try to do about an hour and we're coming up to that soon.
Yes.
I got from our friends at Omni Earth. I got an higher grade Astrath Origin from Iron Blooded Orphans Gecko, which I realised in the photos that I posted, I misspelled orphans without an N. And I'm not going to go and fix it because I'd have to re-upload it. So yeah, I painted that up with mostly Vallejo and Citadel, airbrushed it, and used decals by Hobby Mio, which is the blue and yellow ones are UV reactive.
Oh, they look gorgeous.
So yeah, they're quite nice. I don't have a very good UV light to get the power enough to be able to use that alongside normal lights, but I'm still quite happy with the photos I got. It was a relatively quick. I didn't want to spend too much time, so it was relatively quick compared to what I could have done.
Still looked good. I mean, like the weathered markings that you did came out looking gorgeous. The weathering was a bit. It's dark, but it works.
Yeah, it was a wee bit kind of. I just wanted to kind of have it look nice enough.
Yeah.
I'm not that fussed when it's a high grade, unless it's the only option. Like I've got on my shelf, as well. I got a silver billet curve suppressor, and I'm not sure what I want to do with that. It's quite big spaces, so I'm thinking it's a scribing opportunity.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't think I'm going to do massive modifications. Mostly just maybe scribe it up a bit and paint it.
I think a fun one to do some scribing on if you're looking at a big project to do scribing on would be your birthday present. Your Rick Dom Master Grade. Because that's got lovely big curved panels on it. You could do some really cool things to separate those panels.
Well, I've got something I need to do, which is a Podball Verca, because I need to do the version I designed, the color version of that. So I can actually do the video opening for our podcast. I think we will try. It'll probably be a bit of lower fidelity than I would like, but I think we're going to try and do the video version of our podcasts for YouTube, because we've already got it. If you haven't listened on YouTube, we do it on YouTube, but all I've got is a sound wave.
Yeah,
it's just so there's some visual interest. But I think I would like to get us recorded, and occasionally you'll see the cat just appear, and you'll see the chaos that is our studio.
Falling ceiling tiles included.
Yes. I mean, I thought I'd segue into that because we usually talk about.
Yes, we haven't talked about any actual hobby stuff.
No, but that's fine. I think we're kind of realizing we want to talk about stuff,
and we've still got a few minutes left.
Yeah, before we decide to kind of
call it a night.
Clock out.
Yes, clock out.
Hello, sorry, Marilyn's on my lap and giving me cuddles. Oh, my old boy, he's not been well. He's biting me. He's biting me. Stop it! I'm giving you a hug. He's gone now. Yeah, he's got hyperthyroidism now. He gets his drugs every day,
twice a day. Yeah. Without fail. But he's a good boy.
He's a good boy. We're segueing into cats.
Briefly touching on hobbies, cats and the Sandry.
Yeah. Yeah, we I guess we got to talk about Hocus Pocus, which was the kind of thing that drove to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we're going to do next time. I guess we're still trying to get our vibe of what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is only 3 episodes. I'm still hoping we get our general. We're still being maybe a little bit professional. Trying to be professional.
I'm attempting to swear less.
But at the same time, our general humor is not quite coming through as of yet. I think we're actually quite rude and stuff, and I think bums. I knew it was going to be bums or bottoms when you went to the microphone. So I think that's hopefully going to start coming out more
More frequently. We're maybe going to start 2 months, maybe a bit more.
I think so. And I think eventually we'll get to... We're running off just one mic, but I think we'll hopefully not too long and we'll run two, and it might be a bit easier for us to communicate.
I wouldn't be waved in as frequently.
There's been
as
many boys where like you keep leaning further and further and further back. It's like you need to stay close because I can see the volume on the screen going boo. It's like no. You're just be like
it's the hazards of a comfortable chair.
He's getting far. You're just
sinking into my chair.
You just sit there going, where's Jason going? He's going further away.
He's
he's falling into the labyrinth. What's that?
It's the pool of Leviathan.
No, it's David Bowie's crotch. It's luring you into the labyrinth.
David Bowie and his crotch and those magical balls.
He does enjoy some shiny magical balls.
David Bowie, shiny magical balls. Maybe that could be the topic for our next podcast. David Bowie, shiny magical balls.
There is actually a lot of interesting stories in terms of what they did with that.
Oh, Labyrinth, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting.
Ooh.
What?
Deep dive Labyrinth.
Deep dive Labyrinth.
Yeah.
If you want to go deep diving with
Jim
Henson, you go Dark Crystal because that's the thing he imagined far more than what we got in the first movie.
Yeah.
I guess I've still not watched the Netflix series, and I've heard it's fantastic. And I really should sit down because I love Dark Crystal. And it's like the fact that I've still not done it, I feel like I'm
yeah, I've still not watched it either. I was quite excited when it was coming out, but then just completely bypassed it. Yeah,
I feel like it comes up frequently that we're in media we're oversaturation. There's too much stuff, and it's also companies. Hi there. So we had a small technical error, where our software stopped recording. We were talking about what we're going to have for dinner, so in that stead, we're going to leave you tonight and have a nice evening. You can follow us on Broken Unicorn Studio on Instagram, Kit Basher Chronicles, and Scribble Imp. Okay? Have a nice evening.